Chief.
I am aware of the events that have happened in the past, and I've talked to some of the firefighters here today, and what I said to them is this. Every department has challenges across the country, and so our goal here is to learn from that, build from that, and see how we can make sure that we don't have repeat the same type of incidents that you're referring to right now.
How would you view Rockland's current morale?
Well, I haven't had an opportunity to get into the fire station and talk to the firefighters. I recognize that there's a lot of attention on the firefighters right now, and my goal is to address some of that through training, through recruitment, and start working toward that. But again, it's going to take working with the mayor's office, working with the council, and working with the department to start building on that.
Chief, question about you. 44 years with the Seattle Fire Department, black 10 as chief. You retired. He was trying to get you to stay on. You said no, it's not anymore. So why are you taking this?
So for most, that was a short 2 months. For me, that was a long 2 months. I found out that I like being busy. I like using the skills that I have. And when the opportunity came to come out and do this again, I jumped on that opportunity. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited. I love working. Like I told somebody earlier today, I've read so many books that I have to wait for the authors to print for me to read. So I need to be busy, and I'm excited to start here.
What's the first thing you do once you get there? What's the first thing you do?
Sit down with the command staff and start learning how they do business and ask them why they do certain things to find out why we do what we do. It is getting into the weeds, learning and understanding everything. I am here to learn in the beginning and not make change, and then we'll make changes as we learn what's the best way to do that. As a team, we're going to work very well together as a team.
Mark.
Chief, I'm Mark Sanders with Channel 4 News. Can you talk about some of the things that have been in the works here prior to you getting here and have been discussed are shift changes, the shifts that firefighters actually work, cross training, paramedics, EMTs, firefighters, and I believe Seattle did something a little bit different as far as ambulance and using. Did you use private ambulances or hospital-based ambulances?
Private.
And so I'm wondering if those are changes that you might consider bringing here to D.C.
Again, for the first 6 months, I'm going to be learning why we do things, how we do things, and then we'll be talking and we'll be sharing our different experiences to figure out what's the best way and what's the best level of service to provide to the community. I think that it is incumbent on me to come in and learn how they do business before I start deciding this is the way to go, because different parts of the country, different things work very well. And so that's what I'm here to do, learn, lead, and be a part of this great organization.
Aaron?
Chief Aaron Davis for the Post. One, I don't know if you've had a chance to, but there's been written a lot of reports on the fire department's response to the Metro meltdown last month and a half ago. There was a lot of timelines in those reports of firefighter response times, 6, 7, 8 minutes, depending on the situation. Are those acceptable response times to you? And have you had any initial reaction to the response?
I know a couple things. I have looked at the reports that are available right now, but I have not actually sat and talked with the men and women. One of the things I've learned is this: if you're not there and you don't know what the challenges are in front of the team and what's going on, it's very hard to say, hey, this is what I would have done. So until I have an opportunity to read the report, until I have an opportunity to sit and talk to the commanders and the responders, I think it's incumbent on me to sit back and learn and listen. If there are things that we need to change, we'll be changing. When I was the fire marshal for the city of Seattle, we actually came out here to Washington, D.C., spent time going through the Metro Tunnel and working with the fire department, and they helped guide us as we put together our deep stations. So I know the department's been involved in the past. I know that they have a great corps, and I'm looking forward to working with that corps.
What were your response time goals in Seattle? What were your benchmarks for your response?
We used 4 minutes, the NFPA 4 minutes for our first unit on scene.
Chief, could you elaborate? Because one thing that we are impressed by in Seattle is that they had outcome goals. So in addition to having response goals, the chief can tell us, for example, I made the point already about the number of people who called with a cardiac emergency and their outcomes based on the care that they received. And so we want to make sure that we're focused on more measures.
So to follow up with what the mayor is saying, so as part of our strategic plan, it's looking not only at our emergency medical side, but it's also looking at our fire response side. It's looking at what we call non-emergency responses, and that's the goal when I get here, is to look at how we best can provide services and use data to help us make those type decisions for everything from fire responses to emergency medical responses to what I would call those emergency responses.
Chief, a lot of the problem, I guess, occurring in recent years is the replacement and maintenance of apparatus and equipment around here. Have you been given any assurances about how the city plans to help get that up to speed?
Well, as I said earlier, the mayor has committed to having us do an assessment, a better assessment of where we are, and then we'll work with the mayor and the council to start taking steps to make sure that some of the challenges that we saw in the past we can address.
I think in the last couple of years, a lot of firefighters in this department have said that they've been forgotten about, they're irrelevant. If we were to ask some of the firefighters in Seattle about the relationship that you have with them, what would they say about you? What are some of the things that they would say about you? Because likely you will get it.
Well, I'm glad you asked me first. Let me say that. We were just talking in the hallway about my golf score, and I said, well, since no one's here, I'll tell you what my golf score is. No, actually, I had a great relationship with the firefighters. We used to laugh and joke at multiple alarms because my incident commanders would say, Chief, do you mind stop laughing and joking so we can put them back to work? I thought they called the multiple so I could come out and visit with the firefighters. I like sitting down and talking with firefighters. I like sitting down and talking with everybody. One of the rules with me is no one likes to ride with me because I stay and talk to everybody and they want to go back home. I'm not in a hurry. And my daughter's here today, and she will tell you that she doesn't like to ride with me. But when I go in fire stations, my job is to sit down and talk to the firefighters. My job is to deal with those silent moments when you walk in and everybody's silent and start talking to them. Also, my job is to help them understand that when it's time to hold you accountable, holding you accountable means simply that. It does not mean I don't like you. It does not mean that we don't have a relationship. And that's, having been the chief of personnel and having been the fire chief, I understand those differences, and I'm prepared to sit down and talk. And I actually welcome you to go down and talk to the Seattle firefighters, and please share with me what they did say.
Chief, can I ask about a couple of questions related to Seattle? If you could comment on the whistleblower lawsuit that you were involved with there. And then I think it was Cairo did a piece on DUI. Mm-hmm. And I think what may be a concern for some reporters here is that your reluctance to talk to the press for several months during that. We've always enjoyed pretty good times, bad times, pretty good accessibility to our police and fire chiefs here in D.C. We're wondering if we'll still enjoy that same accessibility to you.
So the answer, let's start with the whistleblower that happened. So I demoted somebody, and at the same time they set up the demotion dealt with the fact that they had made a complaint to the ethics committee. I was not aware of that. That lawsuit, we have prevailed in that lawsuit. But at the same time, the other side of that coin, the individual that I demoted, I actually promoted, and we continue to talk on a daily basis. So we disagreed on a business piece, but it did not impact the friendship. And that's really what I talk about, because it's important for these men and women to understand that. We may disagree on some things, but it doesn't mean we can't continue to have a relationship. There was an issue that dealt with DUIs in our city. A number of firefighters, not a number, but about 4 firefighters had received DUIs, and our policy was not up to date with some of the other city departments. And so we were working through that. It wasn't a matter of I wasn't available. It was a matter of my office decided that this was an issue that could be dealt with at their level. And so that's what happened on that one. Eventually I ended up sitting and talking to the media, but it wasn't a matter of I wasn't willing to talk. That is my responsibility. One of the things for me that you'll see is that when things go right, see these men and women in front of the camera. When there's challenges, it's my responsibility to be standing in front of you and answering those questions.
Chief, just one more